Oh, God, I wish.
If they were, they'd kill it.
Oh, yeah.
They'd crush it here.
Giant Thanksgiving sandwich.
Turkey.
Giant Thanksgiving sandwiches is the topic tonight.
Is that the title of the podcast?
Could be. But that is just an early April Fool's joke. We're only going to be talking video games, TV shows, movies.
You're always starting with off-topic stuff, and today you're like, yeah, not talking about your
No.
sandwich. We're talking about video games and movies.
We're on topic today.
Listen, the past couple of months, I don't know what came over me, but I was going into aliens, crypto and hacking.
Yeah.
I got into the deep web stuff.
Yeah.
I'm getting serious.
Okay.
And we're going to be
man.
the most serious podcast.
Does that have anything to do with the crash of crypto? You don't want to talk about it?
I don't know what came over me. I have now turned a leaf, as they say.
A leaf.
A new
Oh,
one.
it turned over a new leaf. I thought you were trying to say aloof. I said, what?
That's it.
I've
No,
turned a leaf.
I've turned a leaf.
There's no more jokes on this podcast. It's only seriousness.
Well, I would like to put forward a motion to talk about Strangers of Paradise.
Well, I said serious, and you went to the goofiest game on planet Earth.
What is this?
Oh, I was just joking. It's a demo. We played it on... Hey, if you haven't seen it yet, we played that demo on stream.
We played a demo on stream, but I want to actually... Let's keep with the serious theme. I want to thank someone here. I want to thank Kenny for being here.
Yeah, thank you for being here.
Of course.
As our guest. Jacob is out on assignment. We sent him to research
Game Pass,
Game Pass.
which, believe it or not, 300 titles for $15 a month.
I hope you know that. Cover up the Sony pillows I got, guys. No, Jacob is researching what happened to E3 and will it ever happen again?
What kind of research, like a Vice expose, like Jason Schreier, or is it more like...
It's Jason Schreier, so he's peeking in and going, how long? He's telling how long they're working on E3.
Oh, okay.
He's going to see if they're going
Apparently not that long this year.
He's checking their
Jason Schreier
Apparently
very
this
happy.
is what it looks like when they work 8 hours.
No overtime.
He's checking their time cards to make sure they're not.
When they work from home and work 8 hours a day.
Jacob got there and went, why did I even have to research? This thing sucked. But thank you, Kenny. And we've got Travis, who I also want to thank. This is going to be a thank cast.
Okay.
And me and my wife, we'll get to it much later on. We've been watching a lot of Tom Hanks movies. So we're having a Hankathon. And this is a thanks cast, but maybe it's a Hanks cast. Who knows?
That shouldn't be as funny as it is.
But I want to cast the thanks to Travis for streaming our E3.
Oh, yeah.
The E3 might have not been good, but I thank you for...
Yeah, well, it worked out
covering it.
great. Thanks for the opportunity.
See, so what happened this past month, I've only got like one game I've played because me and my wife went on a giant Route 66
Loser.
road trip. Yeah.
One game?
Yes.
What'd you
And
do while you were driving?
I played that one game, Dragon Quest. But what I was going to say was, I was looking at the strip and I was like, this is a fun trip, cool. Oh, God. And we're driving out west. E3 is going to go on. How are we going to do this? So we already planned it. Travis manned it, so I want to thank him.
Yep.
It was a weird one, so if you want to check that out, we got Xbox we did,
Nintendo?
Square Enix, and Nintendo.
Yep.
The Xbox and Square Enix are pretty funny to see, and Nintendo, I think, was the...
I think
Definitely, it had to be the best.
It had to be the best.
I think in retrospect, I know we were down on them in the moment. The Nintendo show was actually pretty good, all things considered.
Considering what they were up against, yeah.
And honestly, the Xbox one, it wasn't awful. It just kind of like was. It needed a better couple gameplay reveals.
Yeah.
It just it was all right. It treaded water,
Yeah.
which they do. But
Yeah. Because last year
Xbox great at treading water.
Last year we didn't have an E3 at all, but we had like some companies put out little things. Didn't Nintendo and other people put out like a little blip thing?
Xbox did a showcase around when E3 would have been.
Okay.
And Nintendo did as well. It was the same as this year, just there wasn't the E3 branding on it.
Yeah.
But it was kind of like this, where then Sony was a few weeks later, Square Enix was earlier.
I can't get this water open.
It was similar to last year, but a little bit more overlap
Called
in terms
Tom
of
Hanks.
timing.
Hanks, give me your power. Have you guys seen that video? This is not to get political, but this video, I keep quoting this. There's a video where a guy is getting pulled over. I don't know, like if the cop is like, "Oh, we're gonna have to ask you to step out," or he did something. I don't know what was wrong. Whatever happened, but the guy says, "No, I can't do this," and starts rolling up the window on the cop. And not to get into all the politics of this, but the cops, they start drawing their arms, and he's streaming live on like Facebook, and he goes, "Donald Trump, if you can hear me, Donald Trump, please help me." So whenever I'm having trouble, there we go. Thank you, Donald Trump. I always go, "Donald Trump, can you please, if you can hear me?" He has his hands up, and there are like guns to the vehicle, like tasers and stuff, and they broke the glass. And Donald Trump did not show up. Spoiler alert.
Well, with you watching Tom Hanks movies, it brings up one of my favorite topics, which is Chet Hanks.
Yeah, Chet Hanks.
That dude.
Chet Hanks.
He speaks in a Jamaican accent.
He never wears a shirt.
And he said it was going to be White Boy Summer.
White Boy Summer.
That turned out, I don't know.
My favorite was when his parents got COVID, when that was all starting, and he did a shirtless,
Twitter. It was a Twitter
video. Twitter video, like, "Yo, they're gonna be good. They're chill. They're chill." Like, and it's just like, what a way to represent your family at this moment.
I remember we were worried in the group chat, like, if Tom Hanks has it, that we went on red alert.
Yeah.
Our group chat. But then once Chet came in and said, "Yo, they're good." I think he did say something like, "Yo, they're popping."
Oh yeah,
it was something slang.
He said they ain't. What did he say? Yeah,
they ain't fronting or skipping or what?
He said something.
They ain't tripping.
They ain't tripping. Yeah.
Something like that.
My dad, my mom. They ain't tripping though.
So we kept saying in the group chat,
though.
"Hey, Hanks says it's tripping zone."
So Chet Hanks. Are there any Chet Hanks movies?
Not yet. I think that's going to be in the works.
Maybe Tom will hand over the mantle. Like how they gave Captain America's shield to Falcon.
Yeah.
Maybe
that's what we want to happen.
Maybe Tom Hanks will hand the Oscars.
He's going to be the next
Woody.
Yo, Buzz. Buzzman.
Don't be tripping, Buzz.
He's going to go Buzzman.
Buzzman, don't be tripping.
Bomba clap.
Oh my.
But yeah, we'll see what goes on with Toy Story 5.
Yeah. Speaking of E3 and weird celebrity things, during the Summer Games showcase that Jeff Keighley did, which I guess technically is an E3 competitor. It's technically not part of E3.
I didn't know what that was.
I read
he's going up against them.
He's doing his own summer. It's like the summer version of the Game Awards. Yeah. It's his own thing. It's not in the same town, and he's openly said, "I don't like ESA. I'm doing my own thing."
That might be the new thing.
Because they got Elden Ring. They got Elden Ring, and they showed a bunch of games,
and
and we missed all that. But they had Jeff Goldblum. I don't even think he knew what he was introducing because they just put him on the screen, and he said, "I want you to imagine." And he kept calling Jeff Keighley Geoff. He said, "Geoff." He said, "Geoff, I want you to imagine a world with chaos, and they're trying to rein in the chaos." And he just went on a rant, and then they showed a Jurassic Park game, and it was like he doesn't even know what he's introducing.
Yeah.
He's just. They said, "Jeff, just go on a rant. Go on a Jeff Goldblum rant." So, I love 90s actors. I love Tom Hanks. I love Jeff Goldblum. Just watch Twister. I love Bill Paxton. Helen Hunt. Mm-hmm. Helen Hunt was great in Twister. That's who her name is, right?
I don't know.
Helen Hunt, the main girl in Twister.
I don't remember.
The blonde chick. Okay.
Watched that in fourth grade when they were talking to us about tornadoes.
I've just been getting on a 90s movie.
Now watch out. Here's what happens. If they showed that,
is that the one where the tornado hits the lake and catches on fire? And isn't that?
I don't know if it catches on fire, but yeah, there's 5 levels of tornadoes.
Yeah, right.
And there's level 1, level 2. It's like a video game. Yes. That movie is. It's like level 1, level 2, level 3.
I just remember the tornado hitting the lake.
The level 2 is these 2 little twisters that are on the lake.
Yes.
Yeah. That's a great movie.
I watched that recently. I don't think I'd ever seen it or saw it when I was a kid, parts on TV, but I love, spoiler alert for those that have not seen Twister, there are twisters in it, or tornadoes in it, but
storm chasers.
One happens, they're chasing, the next one happens, oh my gosh, and there's 3 or 4, and then the scene cuts, and they're at the drive-in.
At night, after a long day.
Yeah, of ungodly amount of tornadoes. Man, I'd go home and maybe sleep or go to the hospital, you know what I mean, for trauma. And they are chilling watching movies, and then it's the freaking sirens going, oh God, it's another tornado. It's dude, 4 in a row, you think that you'd stop going to the drive-in? At that point, it's I'm just finishing the movie. But
That movie, that drive-in scene's a weird one for me because that is my introduction to The Shining.
They show The Shining.
I never watched The Shining, obviously, when I was younger, but I would watch Twister, and in Twister, they showed multiple parts of The Shining of the end of that movie, because that's what they're watching at the drive-in, and then when he, like, busts through the door, and he's like, here's Johnny, that is when the tornado, like, takes over the screen. But I just remember as a kid being like scared of The Shining because I would see these little twins and then I would see this and my mom was like, oh yeah, this is a scary movie. So like I built up The Shining to be this like really scary movie in my head after seeing it in Twister, which I don't even know how they got the rights to show the movie within the movie for that because
they might be under the same.
I was wondering
publishing.
the same thing.
That or the '90s, they were probably a little more lax on that.
Maybe.
Everybody's crazy.
Disney didn't own everything
stuff
at that point, so you could share stuff.
Nintendo would have been so upset if they were watching the E3 Direct on the screen at the drive-in.
Yeah.
They would say, get that tornado in there, get that off the screen.
Yeah. But E3 happened. It felt like, and I knew going in, my expectations weren't like crazy. Like, it's going to be the best E3. Like, I knew that COVID happened.
You know what it felt like?
I gave them like.
Do you guys have family reunions?
Yeah.
Do you ever have like the year where everybody's just kind of there? Like, things have been kind of crazy and like, it's like we're here, but like there's years that it's been great and everybody remembers that. But this year it's just like, we're here.
No
and
one
it's
wanted
just
to
like,
come.
like, Uncle Bill couldn't make it, and it's like half the people, and it's just kind of like, this is
I came into that, we'll give them a pass. COVID happened. I know things are going to be a little bit crippled, coming in. Like, they're not going to be the full capacity, whatever. But when the Square Enix, like, I didn't think Xboxes was bad. It just didn't have, again, something that, like, really wowed me, like Sony, whatever's used to. But Square Enix was such a waste of time that
Did they announce it?
It was 20 minutes of their 40-minute thing of Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yep.
That they showed. It's like, do we need 20 minutes? Like, even 10 would be a lot for one game.
Well, and everybody comes to a Square
Enix. A 40-minute thing.
Everybody comes to a Square Enix thing wanting Final Fantasy, and you could tell it was off on the wrong foot when it was the 20 minutes of Guardians of the Galaxy. It was like 6 trailers, 2 gameplay things, an interview, and then they showed a 40-second. It wasn't even 40 seconds. Yeah. It was 30-second, like, trailer for a Final Fantasy 1 through 6 remaster for phones only.
Phones and Steam.
And they didn't even show gameplay barely. It just was so fast. Pixel Perfect Remake, moving on. Like,
and they didn't even actually show
that's why we're here.
Yeah,
show us that.
And it really shows how good Nintendo is at this, too. Because they wouldn't spend even 20 minutes on Breath of the Wild. They would do it in the treehouse.
Yeah.
But in the presentation, they've never even showed 20 minutes of a Zelda game.
Yeah.
That's crazy. We showed 20 minutes of that. So, then they do that. And then what I thought was the craziest was Final Fantasy 16 was just at their sizzle reel at the end.
Yeah.
Which is usually reserved for, like, indie games. Not crapping on indie games, but, like, they just showed a second of that. And it's like, that's just reserved for that, and you showed 20 minutes of Guardians of the Galaxy. But...
The rumor on that is that, and I do think it seems legitimate, Sony, all of the Final Fantasy 7 and Intergrade and 16 stuff has always been at Sony's thing. Sony has exclusive marketing rights for those.
Okay.
So they get to show those at their thing, which at that
maybe
point,
they're holding it.
If you can't show Final Fantasy 7 Remake and you can't show Final Fantasy 16, maybe Square Enix shouldn't have an E3.
Yes, and that was kind of...
Yeah, you don't have to do it.
Yeah, you don't... Well,
that was my conclusion after it was, God, I kind of wish we just didn't even have E3 this year. Like, could that stuff... Maybe the Direct, let's have a little video of that. They do good on those, but... Did you need to have that? Or could that have been reserved for like a tweet with the video and a lead up? You know what I mean? Like, so I felt like they stretched it out to something that could have just been a press release for a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
It was kind of a waste, and that was kind of a bummer. But,
yeah. Well, the one thing that they did get a lot of eyes on was Stranger of Paradise, Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
Because that was like their big thing at the end of their show, and that trailer went over like a fart in church. Like nobody was excited about that. But I will say, when they did finally get the demo and get it all fixed, we played that on stream. I played that at my house.
Yeah.
I really like that demo. I probably will pick that game up now. It's fun. It's like a Dark Souls style combat with Final Fantasy.
Yeah, we had fun on the stream. Check that out. Do we defeat Chaos? You'll have to watch and see.
Zach didn't.
But yeah, Strangers of Chaos.
Strangers
Paradise.
of Chaos.
Whatever it is.
Gotta
Chaos
kill
of Paradise.
It's, the full title, isn't it Origins, Strangers of Paradise, Final Fantasy?
It's Strangers of Paradise, Final Fantasy Origins.
Cool. Stranger Things Season 5 coming out on the PlayStation.
They just skip
Oh,
forward.
they've released more character key art. These guys, like Jed and Ash and
These
Jack,
people look like people going from work.
literally, they released their pictures, like their key art. They're wearing like literally office clothes and stuff. And I didn't realize there's a thing called Lost Stranger. It's a comic book. It's called Final Fantasy Lost Stranger. It's a comic book that Square Enix made like 2 years ago about a Square Enix employee that wakes up in a Final Fantasy game. So a lot of people think that this game is going to be these three guys are either like, it's like a Jumanji situation where like they find themselves inside of Final Fantasy 1. There could be some, they keep saying people are going to be really surprised what this story is. You don't know. Right now people are like, it looks stupid. Like, that's what I know.
Yeah, no one's going to know.
But if they do an interesting, like you got sucked into a world story, that's fine with me. I like the gameplay, so we'll see.
Yeah, that was interesting. But
Go weird with it because it's not going to be serious.
I only played one game this month. I played the game that I actually sold, Dragon Quest XI. I had it on PS4, and it got to the point where the turn-based battles, it was racking my brain. There's a part when you get in that game when all these guards like chase you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then you get a battle. And then you go to this other part of the city, and they're still chasing you as you're trying to find out where the next place to go. And it kept, after the 10th battle of that, I couldn't do it with this slow, like, attack. Wait for the animation. I was like, I'm done, and I sold it. And I was like, I will buy it again. I marked my words on the podcast if we got sped up battles. So we did. And that's what I did on the trip when I had some free time when I was the passenger. Didn't do it while I was driving. You know, I don't play Dragon Quest while I drive. I'm a weirdo. I know. Pulled out Dragon Quest 11, and I got throughout the whole trip. I got to where I was the last time, and I haven't gone past it. I haven't got to the guard. I'm right before that, but. Battles, I got there in half the freaking time because I put on ultra fast on the battles. Enjoying it a lot more this time.
That also has a more orchestral recorded soundtrack.
Yeah, so it was more like MIDIs that people complained about, and it was like little fart noises.
Bad samples on the original version.
So this one sounds better, plays better. Still enjoying that. That's a definite, if you're like going on a road trip, that's a fun little RPG. And
I've never played a Dragon Quest. I've been considering playing that one, or if there's a good way to play 8. 8 always had caught my eye too. But I feel like maybe this is the one to play.
Yeah, I'd just play this one.
Yeah. Or 4. I've heard 4 is really good if I emulate that or something.
Yeah. But that's it for me this month. Not a gamer.
Cool. Kenny, what you been playing?
So since the E3 Nintendo, when they announced Metroid Dread, I had the 3DS, and I got the what did they call that when you got
the ambassador program?
The ambassador. I'm an ambassador for Nintendo. So I got
we're dummies.
We're
we bought
dumb.
the 3DS.
We spent $250 on a system. They dropped the price to $150 a year later. Anyway, so you get all those cool like Game Boy Advance games, and I got Metroid Fusion with that. Never played it.
Keep talking. I'm gonna fix your lapel.
You're gonna fix my lapel. Yeah. Never played it. Decided, maybe it's time since they're releasing the sequel to it.
What's your history with the series?
Played Metroid Prime 1, 2, and 3. Loved them. Never played the side scrollers
because those are Prime. Is it? I didn't know this.
Thing.
It's its own thing. It's like own continuity, not even somewhat related.
Yep.
Just same type of setting and character.
I actually had on the Nintendo Switch. I picked up. I was playing the original one. I had no freaking idea what I was doing.
That game, I was messing around with that earlier this month. That game doesn't hold up.
I was running around just trying to figure out where to go. I got stuck somewhere and I couldn't figure out how to get out, and that was pretty much it. So they announced Metroid Dread, and then I looked it up and I was like, "Oh, this is cool. This was supposed to come out 15 years ago, and never did."
That story at all.
And so all the hype, comes up, and I'm like, I'll play Fusion because I knew it was a sequel to Fusion. I did not know that Fusion was the fourth.
Yeah.
And 3 others. And so Zero Mission is the remake of the first one.
And I just played Zero Mission.
Samus Returns is that 2?
2.
So that one's redone on the 3DS.
Yeah.
And then
you could play Zero Mission, either Samus Returns, or there's a fan remake of 2 called AM2R.
Mm-hmm.
Either one.
Super Metroid, Fusion, and then you would be ready for Dread.
Yeah. So I
have a lot of games in the series, like the main. I know they have the Federation Force.
Yeah.
Some little spin-off thing.
Like Other M is its own little thing. Federation Force, Prime
For the
Hunters.
main games, those 2D ones, there's not many.
And they're short games.
They are short. So I'm like 4 or 5 hours into Fusion. I'm pretty far. It's fun.
Yeah,
I'm having a really, really good time with it.
I dove in when it's like you. I saw the Dread was coming out, and I was like, I played Super Metroid last year, and that was my first one. And I liked that game a lot. It's a Super Nintendo game, so there's a little bit of like, where am I supposed to go? I gotta like randomly bomb some walls, but other than that, it holds up pretty well.
There's some of that in Fusion too. You gotta figure out where you're supposed to go.
Yeah, so I liked Super Metroid enough, and I thought Dread looked cool. It was like, I started doing some research, and it was like Zero Mission's 4 hours long. Like I could play some version of Samus Returns or whatever pretty quickly. I already played Super Metroid, and I saw Fusion was like 5 hours long. So I picked up Zero Mission. And that game is fantastic. I love it's in the same engine as Fusion. It released a year later, and it added a few gameplay tweaks and like quality of life improvements. You said you played Zero Mission?
I've beaten all of the Metroid games.
Okay.
Outside of Federation Force on 3DS, frick that game, and like.
I didn't know that you were that big of a fan. I had no idea.
Yeah, I really like Metroid. I forget about it because Nintendo never talks about it a lot, and it is kind of a forgotten series. And
I think a lot of that is because it doesn't sell well.
Yeah, it sold terrible.
Even Super Metroid didn't sell well.
But look what Dread has.
It's really...
What do you know what Metroid Fusion and... So Zach showed us that since Dread, the price for the Complete in Box Game Boy Advance games has shot through the roof.
All the Metroid games have shot through the roof.
I bought Fusion. Now, granted, everything has shot through the roof in the last year, but I bought Fusion Complete in Box at the arcade 2016 or 17 for like $40.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's funny the collecting stuff on this because there's games I was laughing about. I was like, I cringed when I paid $25 for this. Oh, it's $500.
Yeah, that's
but at the time, you're in a different mindset, and you're like, I don't want to drop $50 on this. Super Metroid, I'll actually take this time. Super Metroid, when I was collecting, got the big boy job, started collecting all these games from my childhood. Super Metroid was on the list, but it was one of the last games I got because I was like, I do not want to spend over $100 on these games, and I didn't until Super Metroid. With tax, it was like $100, $110. It was right on the thing. I was like, I bit down. I was like, crap, I don't want to pay that. Whatever. That is like worth $500 to $700. Like I've seen in between that for that same thing. It's like, but it's funny at the time. You're like, I don't want to do that. But
now, which one did you play first?
I played back in the day. I got Metroid. It was on some collection or I don't know. They were all over the place. And I could not play that one. That one...
The first one?
Yeah. On NES.
Yeah, it was terrible.
I couldn't figure out it was too hard, and then Zero Mission came out. I think that's... Did Fusion have the original Metroid on it? Something had it.
Zero Mission had the original Metroid on it once you beat Zero Mission.
Oh, okay. I don't know where I played first Metroid then. But I played Metroid Zero Mission. I was like, I cannot...
That game rocks,
I cannot beat the first one. Let me try the remake, and the remake is how you should play it.
It's how you should play it.
The Metroid one is aged out of oblivion. Just forget that exists.
Oh my gosh! I didn't think. I thought this was gonna be a fun game, right? I think I almost like it better than Super Metroid because Super Metroid has, I would say, more locales. It's got more bosses. It's bigger in scope.
Yeah.
It's much bigger in scope. But everything I liked about Super Metroid, Zero Mission has, and it cuts out all the fat. It is just. And Metroid 1 and Super Metroid, so Zero Mission and Super Metroid, take place on the same planet. So it's the same areas. They're done up a little bit differently, and there's unique things. But like I feel like Zero Mission is like Super Metroid greatest hits. Of like, if I had to pick one to replay and I had like 5 hours to do it, I would grab Zero Mission.
It's got more quality of life. Probably it's a newer game.
It's got a ledge grab.
It's of course going to be better, like gameplay, whatever wise. But I will say Super Metroid does have that atmospheric. People have always said that, and like I beat it again. I beat it
That's true.
on somewhere, I forgot where, and then on like Wii Virtual Console I played it. I think I beat that game twice, and I felt I was the second time through. I was like, this game has a little.
It does have a unique
that I've never
atmosphere.
seen in a 16-bit game. Like, how did you pull that off? But
Very bleak little beeps and boops and sounds, and very unique.
But and then I played all the Metroid Prime games. Those are amazing.
There was also a section at the end of Zero Mission that totally surprised me. I had no idea it was coming. They really change up the gameplay, and I don't want to say because I think you're probably going to play Zero Mission.
I'm definitely going to play it.
Very, I defeated what I thought was the final boss, and there was a whole epilogue thing that was very different, and I was glad it was in the game.
Have you played Fusion?
No,
Have you?
Yeah.
So there was a spot, I won't spoil it for you, obviously. There was a spot where stuff started stuff started going really bad, and you were going up this elevator, and it stops.
Oh yeah,
and
okay.
You go through this wall, and you come face to face with something.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh shoot! I don't know that I've felt a moment of either dread or the weight of a moment.
Metroid dread.
It was a very weighty moment, and I was like, this game is so stinking good.
Yeah.
And then they troll you a little bit, but it was crazy. So I'm having a blast with Fusion for sure.
Yeah, so I think Metroid Dread was my favorite thing they showed all E3.
E3.
I liked seeing more Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, seeing that was a cool opening. It did take me a little bit back to Skyward Sword.
I'm telling
because
you need to give that game another chance when it comes out on the Switch.
Listen, $30 I'll pay.
That's literally my only memory of Skyward Sword when I played with my brother was
dropping.
You flew through the air.
Yeah.
So I was like, what is this?
Did you play it and beat it?
I played it for an hour at my
Are you
going to
get the remaster?
We need to do an extended.
I'm not planning on it.
Listen, us three need to do an extended.
Are you a big Skyward Sword fan?
I love Skyward Sword.
You love Skyward Sword.
Listen,
I
hated the motion controls. And there's one part of that game where you have to go back and this whole area is flooded, and it is atrocious.
Yeah, it's
I am hoping that Nintendo fixed that.
By cutting it out completely. Cut out half the game, and it's actually very...
It's not even half the game. It's it's 2 hours.
I'll wait to see. I had a conversation with our buddy Zach and Devin. We went to amusement park this weekend, and we were talking about Zelda. And I kind of was realizing and talking to them, I was like, I don't know if I'm actually a Zelda fan. I don't mean to go pretentious.
Mr. Xbox over here.
Well, the reason is I love Ocarina of Time. And I love Breath of the Wild, which are two greatest of all-time game contenders. Yeah. And I don't really care for any of the rest of the series. But I've always just picked them up around my siblings when they were playing them and played an hour or two. And Wind Waker, I got to this little island and did a thing. Twilight Princess, I played pretty far into. I think I beat that one. I have almost no memories of it. Skyward Sword, I played a couple hours. And so I've always wondered, should I go back and play those? Or I have in my mind what they are.
Did you play Wind Waker?
You do this. Like I said, I got to this island and I did a thing and I was hiding from these searchlights and...
That's the very beginning of the game.
I got on a boat and I think that the formula is so... In my mind, I know it. I have figured I don't need to play them. But
Wind Waker...
Maybe I would like them more if I played them.
Here's my thing.
Skyward Sword is the only one I actively despise.
Yeah, and so that's part of where if I was going to play one now... if Nintendo put them on the Switch, I probably would have bought...
Did you play Link's Awakening?
No, I probably would have bought
that's your
one.
game.
Well, let me say this. I say all to say this. I actually just started the original Zelda.
Okay.
And I've been having fun with that.
That game is a blast.
I never have gotten very far. I tried it once or twice a long time ago, played it for 10 minutes. I actually really tried to be okay, that way didn't work, this way worked. Okay, I actually found the first dungeon. It's like a cave, and I killed a dragon, and I got a thing.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, I can play this game. You just kind of got to get used to where you're going. So I think I'm going to play through that one, and then I want to maybe do A Link to the Past, because I never played any of the 2D ones.
Link's Awakening. So A Link to the Past is... That game has moments I dread in it. Same with Twilight Princess. There are parts of that game I'm just I'm just going to quit for a little while, because I don't feel like picking... it's like work. Yeah. You know what I'm talking... You know the feeling.
Yeah.
Link's Awakening... is probably my favorite story-wise.
It's a very different one, right?
But I also have nostalgia goggles on because I played that one as a kid. It was the first one I beat on my own. And the story even tripped me up as a kid. I was like, wow. Wind Waker and Majora's Mask both go back and forth for number 2. I've beat Wind Waker more than any other Zelda game. I've beaten that game 5 times. And you know me, I don't play a lot of, like, when I play a game, I'm like, beeline through it, let's get through this game, and so I can just say I've experienced it and move on to the next game. That game, I will go back to, and I'll get an itch for it, and I'll just go back and play it. The story is so fun, the big open sea, and you just, like, once you get past the spot, you literally were at the spot right before the whole world just opens up to you.
Yeah, and maybe I do need to pick one. If I was going to pick one, it probably wouldn't be Skyward Sword.
No.
I mean, I would probably play...
at the bottom of the list.
If I was going to play another 3D one, I would probably play Wind Waker or Majora's Mask.
You never played Majora's Mask either?
I actually got to the very end of Majora's Mask. I couldn't beat it as a kid. I couldn't figure out how to make the time stuff work.
Yeah, that game's kind of difficult.
Yeah.
That game's story, and...
I also... sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, the concepts in that game that they deal with, as far as emotion and things like that, I think you would really enjoy that one too. Especially as an adult now.
It's much darker.
Yes.
My experience with it was also tainted by, you remember the old expansion pass? I don't know what it was.
The red thing.
Pass. It was the Game Pass?
The expansion
Xbox
deck
Game
you had to put in your N64. Mine was we borrowed it from Brad.
Oh, yeah,
Brad. We borrowed it from him. I almost said his last name. We borrowed it from Brad, who I think was my sister's friend, or I don't know what it was. But he's he let her borrow it, but it was corrupted. So it would make games freeze, and you didn't know when it would happen. But it happened enough that it would genuinely impede progress often, but not quite enough. And my mom was never going to... She bought us the N64, was this is your box.
Yeah.
Don't ever ask me. I got you controllers. I got you the box. You're on your own.
Yeah.
No, I'm not buying you $100 thing to let you play one game or in Donkey Kong.
I don't even know the only way I got that thing was Donkey Kong 64 came with it. It was in the box, the expansion.
Okay.
You know that game
because I wasn't going to get a separate thing either. I don't know. So
that game has a memory leak. Did you know that?
Of Donkey Kong?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
There's something wrong with the programming to where if you put a certain number of hours, whether it's, I don't know if it's with the game just on or in a certain save file, it will just crash and will not work anymore.
Oh my gosh.
The game has faulty programming.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So don't play too much Donkey Kong.
Yeah, it has a memory leak where it just builds up, and then crashes.
Yeah. Or it'll be on like Donkey Kong. Or off.
Off like Donkey Kong.
Yeah.
Jacob had that happen with Just Cause 3, and it would just slowly, it would just degrade into nothingness. It would be fine, then not quite fine.
What's the worst glitch or something that impeded your progress and it
Oh, I know, I have it. It ruined the game for me. Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2 is an RPG. It's a 30, 40 hour RPG. BioWare, a Mass Effect RPG. Yeah. I had built up, I had gotten, it's just like Mass Effect. I had gotten all the different people recruited on my team. I was probably 2/3 into the story. I was very, 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 very far into the game. I had been grinding up my character, all of that. It's like a JRPG kind of, like a Final Fantasy thing. Well, you get in your ship and you fly places. Well, there was a cutscene where these people made us land on this planet. It's part of the story. It's this ice planet. And when I got out, I always would save as soon as I got out of something. Because I don't know if I'm about to fight something. Got out, save. I was in a glitched instance of that ice palace.
Yeah.
No enemies spawned. Couldn't get back on the ship. There was normally with that game, you have 2 party members come out with you, like a Mass Effect. Nobody was with me. I ran all over the place. I truly saved on a corrupted instance of that palace, rebooted it, did everything I possibly could never get, and I had lost 35 hours, and I've never finished that game to this day. I just gave up on it. I don't even know how that game ends. Terrible. I never even looked it up. I just was so frustrated that happened. So,
jeez,
I don't know if I can,
because that's a game where you make decisions and there's outcomes.
Well, 30 hours is all you got to say.
Yeah, and that's where I learned. You have to have 2 save files when you're playing an RPG. I hadn't learned that lesson yet.
That saved me on all of the freaking Elder Scrolls games. Because that was when I first started that.
Yeah.
I'll just start a new save. You
ever have a Fallout save where you're blowing up right when you save?
Yeah, you save, it auto-saves, and that was the last thing. Is what if that was my only save? That would have been it. You have to have 30 saves when you play those games. Like, okay, save now. I played a couple. Because if you get glitched, it's like, oh, I only lost an hour or or something. So I can think the worst one of all time was I can't even fathom the amount of hours, but it was an indie MMO game, and it's called Asperetta. And then it became, actually, I think after what I'm about to explain, it became a whole entire game. Remember Final Fantasy 14 when it blew up? This game blew up unknowingly. I don't know if they got hacked or servers crashed or whatever. It was me and that same Brad that got the corrupted.
This guy is
too much corruption.
Is he involved in Stranger in Paradise?
Yeah. There's too much corruption.
He's the main character.
But we played back and forth. We were trying to level up. Like, oh, I'm level 16 now. What are you? Okay, I'm level 17. And then we'd play that weekend and try to beat each other. And we put ungodly amounts of time into it. Well, one morning I woke up. He was calling. We had house phones back then. This had to be 2002, 2003. He calls me. Hey, have you been on Asperetta this morning? And I was like, no. Like, I'm just waking up. They deleted everything. So here's the thing. I was at level 48 of 50. I remember this. 50 was the peak, was the cap. To get to 48, you had to put in ungodly amount of time. Like, I can't even hundreds. I would have to say hundreds of hours. So I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, get on there. And I was like, you're joking. And I get on, and I am back to level 1. Everybody else that's running around me has the same stick and, like, beginner. And that ruined MMOs for me.
I was going to say, this sounds like what maybe ruined it for you.
That was. I just went, because I went back and was like, okay, all those hundreds of hours, and then amounted to nothing. Yep. I mean, I'm never going to do this again. Yeah. I was like, I put so much hours, and it became Iliad. I think we played for a little bit after that, but we were burnt.
Yikes.
Their server, like, crashed and lost everybody's data.
Wow.
Everybody's data went away. Data stuff back then, I feel like now you can have cloud stuff.
Well, and there's really, I would say things are mature now where there's failover processes. Mm-hmm. Like you have a hot server and then you have a cold server that backs it up. But then you also have failover procedures of like, if this fails, we immediately go to the backup and we disperse it into 2 other server farms. And
they figured it out. But like back then,
it was the Wild West.
When stuff failed, I would say pre-cloud stuff. I would say like 2010s we finally figured out, or 2000s maybe, late 2000s. But like I do remember too, and you can't use this excuse anymore, but it's like, oh my gosh, in school, my project failed and I lost all like 8 pages I had written. You know what I mean? Like stuff like that would happen. It'd be corrupted, the Word doc, and then you'd have to Google, and somebody's like, "Put your credit card in, I'll fix it." You know, what I mean? Like crazy stuff happened back then. That like now cloud stuff is like, oh, we just auto saved it in Google Docs and whatever else. But
can you imagine if like something happened to like all of Google servers?
It'd be over.
Things would be really devastating.
I'd be going to bed. I'm going to bed, guys. Wake me up when you figure this out. I'm not coming back outside until Google's back.
But yeah, Zelda 1's cool.
We said Zelda 1's
cool.
What
else?
Zelda 2's not.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah, I'm not going to go chronological. I actually thought of A Link to the Past as Zelda 2 because I see that as the continuation.
Does Zelda 2 have like?
It's a full story.
I know it's a full story, but like, what even happened?
I think there's people. It has its fans.
That turns into like Mario. You have to save really Princess Zelda, and it kind of just turns into Mario. Like why
did Nintendo struggle so much with second games?
I don't know.
Mario
2 wasn't even a Mario game. It was like
exactly.
I think 2 because they didn't really.
I guess they were the ones creating this concept of a gaming IP.
They didn't really have an ideal of what that wasn't a major IP yet. So it's like.
But the rebounding that they did have, though, was like Mario 2, Super Mario World, right?
No, Super Mario Brothers 2.
Then they had 3. 3 was really good.
Oh, yeah, Super Mario Brothers
3 was really
good. It's like
good.
they rebounded, and like Metroid 2 on the Game Boy, and then that Super Metroid, and Link to the Past. Like they rebounded on almost all of those.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Even Final Fantasy did that. It was like Final Fantasy 2, what's going on, and then
it says Final Fantasy in the title. What are you doing? Why is there another one?
What else have you been playing, Kenny?
Huh?
What else have you been playing?
Pokemon Snap. Been playing that a little bit.
We did a hangout for that.
We did. I finally got my hands on the Pikachu camera printer.
Kenny, I thanked you there in our last thing. I showed it off. We have the you can see it up there. Zoom in on your screen. Squint on your screen, but it's the printer. that you can connect to your Switch. It also connects to your PC if you want to whatever.
And your phone.
Oh, yeah, your phone
You can
too.
just print straight Polaroids right off of it.
And it'll print little Polaroids. But this thing, I opened it up or whatever, they don't give you any film.
Yeah, I figured they wouldn't.
And I was like, that's kind of lame. I don't know. I feel like anything that's had like a little like fun thing, it's always had, hey, here's some...
Here's get you started.
Get you started, but nothing really.
So that's been fun. It's kind of getting grindy now. Cause,
Pokemon Snap?
Yeah.
You can grind and Pokemon Snap?
It just gets a little... Like, you have to go back and level up and...
Oh, I didn't know there's
all
that.
that.
I had an experience like that recently.
Yeah?
Yeah. I talked about this on the stream, and I won't... I feel like I've already spoken my piece on this game, but Final Fantasy 15. If you only watch the podcasts, I played that.
I didn't know you were playing that.
Yeah, I beat it.
There are parts where you have to just go grind, or you will get scorched.
Yeah. Did you play the Ultimate Edition, or did you play the
so
base?
that's the thing. I want to go back and play it. I don't know though.
We might have had a different experience than you because you had like final bosses they added at the end.
They added.
So maybe we played the definitive.
When you go back to Insomnia at the end of the game, I was so confused. People were like, "Yeah, you just fight."
Does the story make sense yet?
You just fight Ifrit, and then you just go fight this guy. This guy with crazy hair, and I was like, "Okay," but then it was just like. I fought a Cerberus dog, and then I fought this paladin guy. And I was fighting all these people that aren't in the walkthrough, and I was like, "What am I missing here?" The Ultimate Edition adds like 4 bosses.
Why?
In between Ifrit and the main bad guy.
Sounds like did it make it
and
better?
Every one of those bosses, I had to go back and grind several levels, and I was already done with the game at that point. Mentally, no, the game. I don't know. No Man's Sky, it's not as egregious, but you have this little bit of No Man's Sky where people were like, I played No Man's Sky launch. I thought it was all right. I had fun. I didn't love it, but I had fun. I played it recently. I had fun. I didn't love it, but it was fine. But people say they fixed that game. They made it perfect. It's a 10 out of 10 now. It's like, you weren't there for the beginning. It's basically still the same. They just added some new stuff. This is that. I mean, this story made no sense. And I watched the anime and Kingsglaive and was really excited to play it. It made absolutely no sense. There was no connective tissue. You wake up, you have a dream with like sped up cutscenes from Kingsglaive for a second, and like your dad died.
Yeah.
and then they send you on this journey, and then this guy with long hair keeps stopping you.
Yeah.
And then like takes you down to this like statue and tells you to wake it up, and then he picks you up in his ship, and then he drops you off in the woods, but there's no cutscene, and it's like, why did he drop us off in the woods?
Yeah.
And then I'm running around, and then I'm supposed to be meeting this girl I'm supposed to marry, but I don't know anything about her. And then you finally catch up to her, and she dies, and it's extremely melodramatic. I watched a podcast recently where they were talking about melodrama and JRPGs.
I forgot that she dies.
She dies. Sorry, spoilers, but it's not a story.
They kill her off. Is that what the big Hydra battle?
Yeah. Oh God, that battle.
That battle sucked.
That battle sucked. I'm just pressing triangle. Just end it. No mind applied to it at all. But like melodrama is literally like it's defined as where there is a lack of character development, and in its place is heightened words and heightened imagery and heightened scenario. Like
Sounds
things
like
are over the top to compensate for the lack of character development.
Yep.
And that game is so melodramatic. And then they start trying to tell some story about Arden, this guy that I guess he's your brother, or he was a guy that was a king, or he was trying to be a king and he couldn't be. It made no sense. Worst Final Fantasy game I played. I said I wasn't going to go on about it, but I did.
The sucky thing is
they didn't
like
fix jack crap. And then you get on those stupid trains, and it's like 5 chapters of getting on the train, and then your friend's blind, and your friend's mad at you for leaving your blind friend behind, but I'm supposed to play the game, right? Like, it was bad. Bad game.
That game had so much potential.
It did.
It's got to go down as one of the biggest, like, wastes of potential ever.
I was talking with Travis that it made Metal Gear Solid 5's shortcomings of story. It made it look like a princess.
It makes Metal Gear Solid 5 like
a perfect game.
Yeah, and it makes me frustrated that people, the more time goes on, the more frustrated I get about people towards Metal Gear Solid 5, how much they rag on it.
Yeah, there's been worse offenders
since God, then. Trust me, I'm as bummed as anybody that the second arc they were trying to tell got unfinished. But that first arc is a complete tale. Yeah. You understand everything about Skullface. That you go on a whole journey with that, and it just didn't connect to Metal Gear 1 the way people wanted it to.
Yeah. Metal Gear Solid 5, like, even still, the peak emotional moment of Final Fantasy 15 is supposed to be the, like, you're chasing after this girl and you finally get her and she dies, and you don't give a frick.
Yeah, she has no character.
But in Metal Gear Solid 5, like, when the...
Oh, that's the hit.
When the base, like, happens and then, like, we're all diamonds. Like, that was
when the base happens, when you find out the true nature of who you are, you know, not to get into too many spoilers, but, I mean... Metal Gear Solid 5, I sometimes think, like, man, I kind of want to, like, dip back into that and mess around. I don't think I have it in me to replay all 50 of those missions, but, so Final Fantasy 15. And then I would say, like, a third of the way through Ghost of Tsushima. So I just completed the end of the first act, and I'm now moving up to the second part of the island. I've been doing a lot of the side quests as I go. That game is just fantastic.
The story's really good.
You know what? You kept saying that, and while you were saying that, I was watching these like end of the year wrap up things, and people were saying it was very, very lame story. I saw a lot of people saying the story was lame, and a lot of people saying the story was, you know, there's nothing happening there, and so I went in like I'm just expecting samurai fun. The story's great, and it ties directly into gameplay.
They do a good job. Like, why is this going on?
Yeah,
why is it? Oh, like I think the flashback stuff and whatever they do.
But like even maybe what I was thinking, and you finished it obviously, is the whole concept of the game is you're a samurai, and samurais fight head on.
Yeah.
But your island has been completely taken over, and they are destroying and pillaging everything, and you are so outnumbered that you have these people that are like, hey, like, let's sneak. And so it's like the gameplay elements for facing head on are good. Also, the stealth gameplay elements are good. And as you're sneaking, it's extremely taboo. Like, your uncle, who is the king, is like, you cannot do that. And he's hearing through the grapevine things you're doing, and like, it's bringing shame on him. And like, but like, you have to do it at points. And it's like, I feel like there's a good interplay of the game mechanics and the story they're trying to tell. Almost like, not quite, I would say some of the direction and the facial animation, it's not Naughty Dog level, so it's more like a little bit lower budget on that front, but I really like the game and the story a lot. So
is that one of my favorite Sucker Punch game? They've made Sly Cooper and Infamous and stuff. And Sly Cooper I was okay with. I had fun, but this one I was like, this is your best work.
Yeah,
ever, so.
And the last game I'm playing is Yakuza Zero, so I'm like in chapter 5 of that game, so about a third of the way through or a little under. That's just goofy. That game is just it's goofy and serious at the same time in weird ways.
I think that's why I like it.
It's super unpredictable. It is it's wild.
I was reading, it was cracking me up on Twitter the other day. Someone's like, I'm cracking up over this 2006 review of Yakuza 1 when it was on PS2 because it was an EGM magazine, and the way they reviewed is they let 3 people review each game, and they each give a score, and they give you an average score at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And the first person gave it like a 6 and said, too many confusing Japanese names and all this other stuff. And the other 2 people used their entire paragraphs just reaming this guy.
Oh, like my gosh.
So it was like, wow, Johnny, I'm sorry this wasn't all Burger King and McDonald's.
Oh my god!
Like, I'm sorry you didn't know the names of all this stuff. And it's like, and they went in explaining like why the game's good. But
it's just such a goofy game. Like, there's a side quest where I saw this guy on the street that had a phone in a bag because it takes place like the 80s.
Yeah.
And you have this long, in-depth conversation with him about how he has this bag phone and he wants to show it to you, but then he's like, the batteries died. So it's like a fetch quest. You have to go get these batteries, but it's just like, it just stacks ridiculous things on top of ridiculous things.
Fun little game.
That's it.
Any other game stuff?
No, I think I'm starting Xenogears. I started it today.
Did you?
Yeah, there's a YouTube channel I like a lot where they do long form. They'll do like 4 or 5 episodes of like reviewing a game's story in depth. Like they end up being like 15-hour sets of podcasts. But they just did Nier Replicant, which was what I played last month, and they just started a vote today, and they're doing Xenogears. So I figure that's a perfect opportunity to play that game that's been on my bucket list for a long time.
Yeah, that game is Evangelion, and then you'll have a good time. I think it shoots for the stars. I don't know if it gets the stars.
I spent 2 hours after work today trying to understand. I'm not good at emulation.
Yeah.
How to do a multi-disc game.
Oh yeah.
Because but then I was having issues where like I didn't have the right BIOS piece for this. I had to go find it, and so I got it working. But I got really worried because I was starting to play it, and I was like, am I sure I'm going to be able to switch over? And so I had to go look it all up.
That would be a dream game for them to remake and figure out the rest of it. Because that turns into a Metal Gear Solid 5 situation.
Yeah.
It has an infamous second disc or third or whatever.
Does it just become basically a text adventure?
They have to like tell a lot in cutscenes, and the stuff they tell in cutscenes is like galaxy brain crazy. Like... I can't even fathom how to tell you how nuts so. But I'm sitting there like, even though it didn't like, they just kind of have to tell in cutscene stuff and show. My jaw hit the floor what they were going for.
Yeah.
Like the end game of this was so just they shot for the stars, and I really respect that. And that's one of my favorite RPGs of all time. But
yeah,
I want that to be remade. Figure that one out.
Who made that?
Monolith. Monolith.
Yeah.
They own the rights to it, don't they? Or does Square still own the rights?
Square Enix does.
Okay. Who made Xenosaga? I know it's the same lead developer the whole way through.
Monolith made Xenosaga.
Yeah.
And they make the Xenoblade games, right?
Yeah.
Is that all same universe?
No. There might be stuff they
it's like
share,
themes.
Name stuff.
It's like themes.
It's like Final Fantasy.
Through.
You know, Final Fantasy 1, 2, they're all kind of...
Xenogears, from my understanding, Xenogears is its own thing. Xenosaga was going to be like
I take that back. I was wrong. Xenoblade, I'm not so sure about, but Xenogears is connected to Xenosaga. There is... Because Xenogears was going to be number 4, is like 4th in the Xenosaga, like...
So if I play Xenosaga 1, 2, 3, does Xenogears...
There's connection things in that, like
because there was supposed to be 9 games originally, right?
Yeah, Xenosaga was going to be 5. Maybe it was going to be 6 or something.
Which one's the one that I bought the collector's edition of from you?
Xenoblade. I don't know what you bought.
That was on Switch.
Xenoblade 2.
It came with a big old art book. And,
it might have been Xenoblade 2.
You said the tutorial was 30 hours long.
Yeah, Xenoblade 2, freaking 2.
Xenoblade 2 is a game I hear almost no one say that they enjoyed that game. And I was going to jump in there.
I see a ton of people in Reset Era that love that game. There is a big following but I could not figure out for the life of me. There's 3,000 different gameplay mechanics. And they were stacked.
Maybe I'd like that game.
And I was like, I cannot figure this out. Like Xenosaga is, if we're talking like my level, it was like right there, or not Xenosaga, Xenoblade is like right here. It's
the first Xenoblade.
Yes, it's just enough of like all these different stuff that they've tried.
I have that game sealed.
Oh, no, maybe it's Xenogears or not.
Xenoblade Chronicles X.
Xbox Series X. Xenoblade.
Chronicles X.
Chronicles X is ungodly the amount of battle systems, but it's right at the brim of what I'm like my threshold.
You know,
I think that's my threshold.
I've never played a Monolith game that they made themselves, but I played Breath of the Wild, which they designed the map for that game.
Did they?
Yes, they co-developed. Yeah, the Xenogears.
Oh yeah,
the Xenoblade game. They designed the world map for Breath of the Wild, and I love that world map. And whenever I see the Xenoblade games, those maps, it looks like Breath of the Wild, and so that's kind of made me want to go back and play some of those.
I hope they bring that Chronicles X over to...
I've been waiting on that.
I'm sure they brought everything else.
We're waiting on that.
I still have...
They haven't brought everything else. They haven't brought the Zelda remake.
One of the things...
Oh, they will. Don't worry. That's coming.
I want to switch back to the Xbox conference. They did do a good job of, like, the Game Pass, that's their niche. Like, they've really... This one was like, hey, there's a ton of stuff coming. Halo Infinite, I heard, after the fact, that remember they explained
I watched that,
Is that free? That's free to play.
Their multiplayer is free.
So, I'm
the
playing
team deathmatch, everything.
I'm definitely playing it. And then,
but it looked good. It looked really fun. It looked like Halo 3 kind of.
I think that might be all I need. I don't know if I need a new single player.
Yeah. I mean, why not? I mean,
multiplayer.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to the multiplayer. And
it looks like Halo, but I'm ready for 4K, 1,000 frames per second.
I've had enough fun with Master Chief that having a modern, you know, if they stay like in that realm of, doesn't look like there's any sprint. It looks a lot like Halo 3.
Yeah.
So.
But one game I want to check more into was Atomic Heart. It's made by some Russian company, but the trailer looks broken. It looks fricked up. Maybe it's my connection.
No, it was weird.
But
it was so weird.
It does not connect in any way, but it looks like a cyberpunk made in Russia.
Yeah.
It is. So I was all down for that.
I can't even remember. It was like a weird, like upside down clown, like spinning and like
just wackadoo stuff. So that was right up my alley. And then there was the game Replaced, which I looked more into this because we were laughing. We thought it was the game they showed about 3 E3s ago. I think it was like 2 or 3. The last night was an indie game that like used sprites and it used like the way the lighting was. It was something I've never seen that art style ever, and I was really impressed by it. And it's been kind of like dormant. I don't know what's happened in that game. They're still making it, but I found out that is not the same game. The developer said, "Hey, you know when you make something, people like you can be influenced by it." And he was his favorite. Yeah. It was like you know. Imitation is the greatest form of flattery. So that was a different game that used the same kind of art style. Who's going to come out first? Who knows?
Well, I heard that other one isn't happening now because that guy got in a bunch of trouble.
Well, I think I think they're still making The Last Night. I don't know. Did he get kicked off the team? I don't know. But it's like a Bugs Life Ants situation. What's going to be better, Bugs Life or Ants? Were you Bugs Life
I just love that when that stuff happens and they come out.
At
like, you remember when there was the Jungle Book and then there was like. It was like Mowgli, something of the jungle. Like, we went years with no live action Jungle Book. Why do they both come out the same year?
Yeah, they want to compete for that same dollar.
Or like, in this one is actually cool now. I was watching videos of Sekiro side by side with Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah.
Because they look similar. If you've never played either of these games, like if Jess, my wife, saw these games, I know she'd be like, looks like the same game.
Yeah.
They are so incredibly different in every single way, but they look the same.
What's weird is that you just said that, and I was like, yeah, those are the same game in my brain.
They are they could not be more different.
I know they are. Like I know the difference, but I just remember you would see the trailer for both of them in the same conference.
I to the degree that I looked at both of them and said, I'll play Sekiro, I'm skipping Ghost of Tsushima, and I only picked it up later because people just would not stop talking about it, and then you played it, and I was like, okay, it's got a cool multiplayer, and now I'm really glad I'm playing it. But I just love that when... For some reason,
there's too many samurai games coming at one time. I was like, and Neo, and they showed Sekiro and Ghost of Tsushima. And so I was like,
or like Ants and Bugs Life is one of my favorite ones. I just love it.
That's a good one
because then you get to compare these things that are same idea, completely different.
Another
companies.
one, and I don't know, it just had the same kind of mood just from the trailers. But another one I always think about is No Country for Old Men and There Will Be Blood.
Oh yeah,
they were competing for like picture and. No Country for Old Men actually beat There Will Be Blood, but I like There Will Be Blood a little bit better. But
I haven't seen either of those.
But yeah, they were like at the same time those came out, but stuff happens like that.
No Country for Old Men was pretty good.
They're very different movies too, but it just has that same feel, like kind of like Sekiro you were saying. But you guys watch any cool movies? Anything catch your eye?
I think I've already exhausted Twister talk.
Oh, did you like Elden Ring? What was your Elden Ring thoughts? Cool.
Oh yeah, I totally forgot about that. It was my most anticipated game because it was Steam Game Festival. We were talking about E3.
Yeah, we were talking E3.
After Dark Souls 3, which was the last one I played, I loved the series, but I was kind of like, I might be like happy that there's nothing else to play right now because it's just there was I sleptwalked my way through Dark Souls 3. I mean, there were a couple parts that challenged me, but I got to the last boss and did all the DLC in 28 hours. I knew the formula. This looks like it really mixes it up, and it looks like Sekiro meets Dark Souls, but the overworld is what's really selling me because they do such a great job in their games of like, I'm in this area. And then like, okay, there's this tower and there's this. Which way do I want to go? And exploring. This is like a Breath of the Wild, like open zone. But then you'll look out on the coast and you'll see a lighthouse with like some platforms. And it's like, I could go over there. Or I could go over here. Or I could go over here. And they said it's basically there's 5 zones. and then there's an overworld that connects them, and then they said there's lots of little caves and little things you can explore.
Oh, that's cool.
So it like shrines almost like from Zelda.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are saying, and Miyazaki's saying, like it's like Breath of the Wild kind of inspired. So I think that's perfect. And you ride a horse. I think that's perfect for where that series needs to go because as much as I love those games, the like tight, like you can go down this corridor or that corridor or this, I feel like I've done that about as many times as I can. It needed to open up a little bit. So
that's cool.
I'm excited. Yeah.
What game is that?
Elden Ring.
Elden Ring. It's funny because they also said, will there be a difficulty setting? And he's like, no, but I think this will be the easiest of our games because you can summon friends and you can do, like, it's all the same stuff you've always been able to do. I will say, though, he did in an interview, he explained, you get these, like, NPCs that you level up and you can bring with you all the time. And, like, so it's a single player game, but you can almost build a party of these like adventurers.
Oh, that's cool.
If you want to play that way, and like they have different abilities and stuff. And the other thing is they said it's co-op, but they've gotten rid of every freaking Dark Souls game. I got to get the bell chimes, and then I have to use the humanity.
You have to use an item, and it's so weird.
I have to use the humanity so I can ring the bell, the bell chimes, and then my friend has to ring the bell of dissonance at the same time, and then maybe we'll be on the same server, and then they can enter my world if I accept at the right time, and then if they die, we have to go do all that whole thing again.
Oh my gosh!
They said for this one, it's just like there's no item needed. You just get to a certain part in the story.
Figured out co-op. That's really good. That's like a Halo figuring out 4-player or Destiny.
That's a 4-player.
Figuring out 4-player co-op. Did they fix the pause? Can I pause?
I
love not being able to pause and stuff. I love that Strangers of Paradise.
You could pause in Sekiro, couldn't you? Because it was not online. There was no co-op or anything in that game.
I don't remember.
Any of them
in
that
Demon
are on
Souls,
console.
You have to go to the photo mode, and that's the only way you can pause.
Well, I think you can
also
like
bypass it.
Can't you pause by just going out into the menu of the PlayStation? Or does that not pause? It
does not pause it. Yeah, it causes a lot of fights in my life because I just scream, I can't pause.
What does it do? Oh, does it disconnect you from the server when you do that?
No, I think the game's just running in the background, and you come back and you see a "you died" screen, and you died. But I think that's it for me 3.
Not pausing is not good.
We'll see next year.
You have to be present in the game, Kenny. The good thing is it constantly is auto-saving everything. So
also, the new Ratchet and Clank came out. I am a huge Ratchet and Clank fan. I looked at the $70 price tag and said, I'll see you on Black Friday, Ratchet. I'll see you, Clank, around then. But too many nuts and bolts for me, let me tell you.
There are certain games that I'm like, day one, I'll pay $70 for that.
Yeah.
I'm a big Resident Evil fan. I looked at that game and I said, not paying $70 for it.
Was it 70?
I'm pretty sure it was.
This holiday is going to be fun, though, because then it's going to be like Ratchet and Clank. So I'm on the same boat. I think I'm going to be targeting Ratchet and Clank, Spider-Man Miles Morales, and Returnal. All in that realm.
See,
and I'll have a ton of fun stuff to play.
I paid $70 and got the the deluxe edition, so I got the upgraded Spider-Man, and then that's worth it to me.
But I paid $70 for Demon Souls, but you wouldn't have one game. For I don't really count that, you know. And like there are games, like you said, I'll get day one. I'm gonna.
MLB The Show was only $60.
Was it?
Yep.
Yeah, I think some people are looking at that going, I'm not going to charge. I have seen some $60 like extra titles.
So like Horizon, when that comes out, like $70 day one.
Yes. Yeah, there's like, some games and like some people are huge God of War fans are going to get that. Next Naughty Dog fan, here's 70.
We talked about it. It's $70 sounds closer to 100. And 60 sounds closer to 50. Like, I don't know, something broke in my brain that I would spend $60 on these games that were like, I think I'm going to like it, or it's a big thing right now. Unless I really am looking for it, I'm not buying something for $70.
Yeah.
It's just a bridge too far. They found the straw that broke the camel's back for me, so.
But that was video games. But I told you we were going to get serious. Now we are only going to talk about movies. Proceed.
We tried to talk about movies, and then we went back into games. I really don't think I watched the show. Can we do movies and shows at the same time?
No. Only
what if it's
movies.
Part of a movie universe?
I'll allow it.
I've been watching Loki, you know.
Okay.
I want to check that out.
You should. You should.
My problem is that as I did with WandaVision, I want to wait because look.
Yeah,
I watched WandaVision. Brittany and I watched it in one day.
Yeah, I think
We
that's
sat
the
there
way.
and we watched the whole. And I was sitting there thinking, if I would have had to wait a week for this, I would have killed myself. I would have like thrown myself.
I did WandaVision like 3 episodes and then waited and then did 2 episodes and then I watched it weekly because I was really into it at that point.
Yeah, it got like the first episode or whatever. I would have been like, cool, can't wait for next week. Like certain parts of that when it got to the end.
You guys are so opposite of me. I love the experience of watching it weekly.
Well, that's what I've been doing now.
This is 2021.
Well, that's what I've been doing now. I prefer that. I really do. Like when I watch Mandalorian, I'd like maybe 2. I'd save them and do 2. But like
it gives time for discussion with your friends and to sit on what you just watched, and the next one comes like, oh, here comes the next one.
I did like doing it with Mandalorian. I will say.
I will say this. I don't watch a lot of TV because so much of it is I have to binge it.
Yeah.
I only watch these shows where they come out one at a time. Yeah. And it's I know it's on the schedule. I know when there's one, I can get caught up and I just kind of do it that way. These shows where they drop the whole thing in one day.
We need the leftovers to come to Disney Plus.
If they did that and did it
one episode at a time. How far are you into that?
You should take it off. You should take it off of your Plex and just say, oh, a new episode of The Leftovers is coming out.
You'll be texting guys that just dropped.
Did you finish the first season?
Yeah, I finished first season.
Did you start the second season?
Yeah, I'm halfway through it.
When was the last
and he's been halfway through it for the last year.
I've been halfway through for like 3 months.
Come on, Travis.
Jess and I got busy with other stuff.
You're watching Loki.
I like Loki.
I can watch Loki by myself. She watches I've told her twice in the last month. I want to watch some more of that. I gotta watch the next episode's the pastor guy. Oh, which I've not gotten to this part of Loki, but the guy that runs Loki says one of the biggest influences for the show was the lion cult episode of
that episode is crazy.
And Loki, I will say this, 'cause I don't care about Loki. Like the first Avengers movie is my least favorite Avengers movie. I like Age of Ultron better. I like Infinity War. Loki is fine, like in the movies. I liked him in Ragnarok. He's just kind of like a jokester, and he's a bad guy, but he's not a bad guy, whatever. I think Tom Hiddleston's a good actor, but but this show, what I like about it is it reminds me of a show I loved as a kid called Sliders. So go with me here. Sliders was a show in the 80s where this guy worked at a computer store, and he had this friend that worked at the computer store, and then he had a professor that was John Rhys Davies. And then there was this other guy that was like this singer that was like trying to make it big again after he had it was this random grouping of people, but basically this guy in his basement, Jerry O'Connell is his real life name, if you guys know that actor. It's just this 80s show where he actually makes this thing that makes him go into different dimensions. And every episode, they sucked all these random people into it. They're jumping into a new dimension to figure out, like, how do we get home kind of a thing. And that's not the story of Loki, but just the variety on hand of being able to jump through a portal and, like, there's a whole new thing. Now it's sci-fi, and we're in this sci-fi, like, we're in the future on a different planet. Now we're in 2030 Alabama, and we're in this convenience store doing something. Now we're back in the 1400s, and basically the concept of Loki is, for the show, which I won't give anything away because you're going to watch it.
I know it involves...
Yeah, the concept is that Loki from Infinity War, he got put into he escaped from, being arrested.
Yes.
Well, so basically in this show, he, pops up in another timeline because he used this little thing to go in a different timeline. Well, immediately this group catches him and is like, you can't be doing that, basically.
Yeah.
So this whole concept of this show is there's like this, like, outside of time group called the TVA, the Time Variance Authority, that controls all the timelines. And their job is to stop when things start going off of this predetermined path and, like, destroy the timeline and, like, bring it back onto path. And so there's something that's, like, wreaking havoc, and they capture Loki and they want him to help them with this thing that's causing problems in the timeline. So this show is just jumping all over time, and it's really interesting and fun, and it is very surprising. There are some really surprising moments. Owen Wilson is awesome.
Yeah, he's
like
this lead detective. The head of the TVA.
He's not the head. He's like a middle level detective guy.
Yeah.
It's a detective show where you're jumping between different space things, and it's 6 episodes, so 3 of them are already out.
Yeah.
So
maybe I'll check that out.
I like it.
I really wanted to watch, especially once I heard what the concept was, and I was always curious, if this TVA was supposed to keep timelines doing what they were supposed to do. How do they feel about the Avengers going back? They
get into all that, and it's got, this show is gonna really it's got to
shape the next.
It's setting the table. Because the whole concept of after Infinity War, where do you freaking go? After the stones, there's a scene in this show that perfectly sums that up, and it's Infinity Stones mean nothing now. Literally, and Loki has a moment where he's there are infinite timelines, and these people control all of them. Thanos is nothing compared to these people. They're literal gods, basically. So they have reset the power spectrum in that universe with this show, and it's definitely, you can see with WandaVision and the multiverse stuff coming up, and Tobey Maguire is rumored to be in the new next Spider-Man movie.
Tobey Maguire
they're going to bring all these other universes together, and they're going to go wacko with it. And
that's how they're going to solve because if you remember at the end of the last Spider-Man movie, Far From Home, that he got ousted. As soon as they heard,
they accused him of murder and outed his
As soon as I heard that there were rumors that they were going to bring these in, and then the freaking guy who played Doc Ock
in it.
He leaked it. He's like, "Yep, I'm in.
I'm in it," and it's right after when Spider-Man 2 ended. Can you believe it? He's in an interview and people were like, "Oh my god, NDAs."
Yeah, he was not supposed to. Yeah, he's not supposed to say all that, but that's how they're going to remedy that, I think. But it's going to be crazy. I'm glad Loki's touching on that, but WandaVision, the way that ended, too, that was setting up, for what's coming next. So I'm really excited.
The thing I'll say, though, is now we're in this 3rd show, and then this is their last show of the year. And then they have some movies later this year.
Did you watch Captain...
I watched all of them.
So I want to watch that, too. I haven't...
Yeah, you should. I actually really like that one, too. The thing I'll say about these shows, we talked about melodrama earlier, which is, craziness happening instead of character stuff. Mm-hmm. What I like about these shows is... And it's not, Shakespeare necessarily, but WandaVision, there was a very clear arc they wanted to do with that character, and I feel like they were very successful. I really connected with that character more. I liked her after that show. I'm more interested in where she's going. Falcon and the Winter Soldier, same thing. I didn't really care about Falcon before that show. I actually really like him now, and he's kind of this Martin Luther King type character of I'm gonna be my own Captain America, and I'm gonna do it this way. And they do some really cool character stuff with some other characters in that show. And then Loki, this show, Loki's always been kind of a fine character to me. What I like is they're making him they're saying everything you're doing is always about power and stuff, but really you seem like you don't you're not comfortable in your own skin, kind of a thing, or you're not. I don't remember the way they put it, but basically the challenge for his character is you're doing all this stuff, but there's always a higher power. So it's very futile, and it's very almost nihilistic in a way of no matter what you choose, your choices mean nothing, kind of a thing. And having a guy like Loki have to face that is really kind of interesting. Yeah. So I like that these shows, they put character first to whatever degree they can in a show like this. I would say even more than something like The Mandalorian, which I like The Mandalorian. What's the character arc of The Mandalorian? Guess, we took care of a kid.
He doesn't like Baby Yoda. He likes Baby Yoda.
Yeah, I'll say Marvel is way better than Star Wars at this current juncture at telling a human story within this fantastic framework. So.
Yeah, I don't know where Mandalorian goes next.
I kind of don't either.
Find a Baby Yoda.
They're gonna do the Mandalorian Wars. It sounds like.
Don't really care about that.
I never thought I'd be in this position. I would rather have another different Marvel show than another season of The Mandalorian.
I'd rather have a new Star Wars show. Give me something new. You told the Mandalorian story.
They don't know how to do anything new. We talked about this. I told you this. I had a realization.
Every bounty hunter.
Every single Star Wars thing boils down to it's a bounty hunter, it's a Jedi, or it's a smuggler.
That's true.
Those are the only things that exist in that universe. It's the only thing.
Show me a cook that gets in
but
trouble.
The problem is,
and gets...
I don't think that would be interesting.
But I think you can make it interesting. I think you're talking all this Marvel stuff. My favorite comic book thing. I could take or leave these Marvel movies, but I really loved Logan. Logan, Wolverine is a taxi driver. That movie starts and he's just driving around town and getting money. He's like broke and doing all this stuff. And that's what I like. And then it turns into like The Last of Us kind of, but like with the little girl, he like guides around the town. But that I thought was a cool catch, and that was more interesting to me than any of the Marvel stuff. Recently. Like I just like that play on like just find something more normal and just I don't know.
Yeah. No, I like that stuff too. Yeah. The problem is Disney and Lucasfilm have to have everything be very PG-13, very safe.
Yeah.
They don't take any risks with Star Wars.
Yeah.
They just don't.
Yeah. And that goes back to even Episode 8, which is kind of like a meta commentary on what is Star Wars.
It is the... Yeah, no.
And I love that movie for that.
That's the only thing of the new stuff that had a soul.
Yeah, I love that movie for having kind of like a little commentary of like, hey, we want to try something, but what is Star Wars? Like, okay, well, you get to choose.
Yeah.
You're the Jedi.
Because Rian Johnson has an artistic point of view and he wanted to say something.
Yeah.
And they're not going to let him do his trilogy, it seems like.
Yeah.
It's not canceled, but it's like 10 years later now, and they're still like, he might make it one day. It's like, because the fan base, they're scared of all the people.
Yeah.
But unless they start handing Star Wars to people like that have a viewpoint and want to tell a new story.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I don't really like any of the new ones. Like Hindsight, I was always hyped after seeing them. Like
Episode 7 was a really fun experience because
it was popcorn and icing.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
That was the best one out of the three.
We were looking at the movies we were watching. We've been on the Hankathon. Go back to the Hankathon. But in the middle of the Hankathon, we stopped. We paused a thon, and we looked up the best. I was like, what are the best like grossing films of each year? And I went back all the way to like the 70s, and I just was like, oh, this one or whatever. Okay, that one makes sense. Okay, Jaws, E.T. made a ton. Oh gosh, okay, we're getting high. But like once we hit 08, like stuff got into the billions.
Yeah, it blew up.
From 08 on, it went to the billions because like Dark Knight was the best selling in 08. And then from there it's like billions. But it was interesting to see. It was like Episode 1. That was the most of 99 or whatever.
Well, highest. Titanic blew everything out of the water.
Titanic killed.
Titanic set a new ceiling.
Yes. And then the next one that did it was Avatar. And then Avatar got beat out by Avengers. And then Avatar came back because I think they re-released it.
Yeah, they're little turds. Yeah, they re-released it in like China or something.
Yeah, they took it back. But what I was going to say was it was interesting to see, like, okay, there's Episode 1, and then, like, Episode 2 or 3 didn't make it, and the rest. But then, or it might have, one of them. But the one that really sold, the big sellers, I would say, and then it was Episode 7.
Yeah.
Like episode whatever. 7
grossed unbelievable amounts of money in the U.S. specifically.
Yeah.
It did, I want to say it did...
it was ungodly amount.
It was, I think it was... like $2 billion or close to $2 billion in America, which is unbelievable.
And Episode 8 was on there too for that year.
Yeah, Episode 8 did really well.
But
and
then Episode 9 was not on there. I think
Solo. So now that you're familiar with these numbers and you know what a Star Wars movie does, Solo made $280,000.
That is unbelievable.
280,000.
It was 280. 280,000.
Thousand?
If it was
or million. No, sorry. Million. I'm sorry. I'm messing up.
They would shoot everybody on that cast.
That's why I thought it was that bad.
It made $280 million, which is so...
That's still low, yeah.
So unbelievably low for a Star Wars movie. Yeah. I think Revenge of the Sith did like $535 million.
Yeah.
Like...
Yikes. Yeah, that's the top... I forgot what we were talking about. Star Wars. Go on that, but...
Yeah,
movies.
Those new movies... 7 was popcorn and icing fun with some Spielberg heart, but it was like, where is this going? Mystery thing.
Yeah.
8, I think, had a legitimate story it was trying to tell. I love 70% of that movie. Some of the humor kind of makes me cringe, and some of the subplot stuff, I just feel like it just doesn't, it's not great. But I'll take it with its warts, and then 9 is...
9 I almost pair with... I kind of almost pair with Solo in that I don't care to see that movie ever again. Like, I have nothing in me to ever want to watch that movie again.
To me, Solo is a good movie, and I've seen it multiple times, but it's not like the stakes you're used to with a Star Wars movie. So I liked Solo. I'd say Solo, Rogue One, and Last Jedi. Probably my favorites of the new ones, but
here we are after another
9 just jumped the shark. It felt like so rushed and ridiculous.
Yeah.
And
It really did feel like they're just like, hey, we're bleeding. Go fix this up as fast as you can.
Well, 9 also tried to
no, but
do...
the problem is they weren't bleeding.
A lot of people hated Episode 8.
They can get the frick over it. It told a clear story, and there are plenty of things you could have done with 9. 9 phoned it in. They brought the Emperor back.
They did phone it in.
What are you doing? You could have done a million other things with that story. They brought the Emperor back.
Didn't they interview the guy?
The Emperor's not even hinted at in the other 2 movies.
Didn't they interview the guy and he's like, yeah, they just called me up and said you're back. And
Yeah,
I thought he was dead.
I do not agree with the people that blame 8 for how bad 9 was.
No.
9 could have been a million things, and they picked the dumbest stuff.
They had trouble with
didn't
getting
they kill Snoke in 8?
Yes, which is fine.
So I think...
I wish they
Snoke is a nothing character.
I agree.
I love what Rian Johnson did. They said, Kylo is your villain.
Yeah.
Kylo needed to kill Snoke.
Okay. I don't disagree with you on that point of it. But I wonder, in hindsight...
I love that.
What was J.J. Abrams' vision?
He didn't have one.
What was the story?
No one had one.
He didn't have one. He didn't have one when he started Lost.
So he just did Episode 7.
He did. No, he said that. He said that. He just did Episode 7.
He just did it. And he's like, here you go. Somebody else can just figure out.
2 other people were contracted to do the next 2 movies.
And he came in and did 9.
He just came in and did 9 because they fired Colin
Trevorrow. I knew that.
And he did not have a plan. And that's Lucasfilm's fault. They should have been trying to figure out what the overarching
There should have been
be.
an overarching thing. They shouldn't have just said,
that's
here you go, willy-nilly. Like, here you go, just make 3 Star Wars stories.
If someone handed me the script, like the to-do list for this movie and said, Zach, number 1 on my checklist, when I did my little crown on my checklist, I would wrote, figure out part 1, 2, and 3. Like, what's the flow?
What's the story?
Yeah, what's the flow? And they
made like in the first one.
They hired the guy that made Jurassic World to figure out the 3rd part, which wasn't a great idea.
In the first one, it was like they set Finn up to seemingly be something bigger.
Finn's character was ruined from the beginning, and here's why. You start with him at his inciting incident. You don't even know him before.
Yeah.
The first time you meet him, he's making a crucial decision, and you don't even know who he is. You don't even know his life. He feels melodramatic from the very beginning because you don't know who he is. Yeah. And it's like...
And then you have Kylo Ren.
He's not set up. He's a payoff with no setup. Mm-hmm. And then he spends the next 2 to 3 movies trying to figure out if he wants to fight or not.
Yeah.
He has no character at all. He's terrible.
I never thought about that, but
that is a horrible character.
That scene in 7 should have been... That's what him and the...
Yeah, and the Stormtrooper...
That should have been maybe a couple of scenes in after.
Yeah.
In the second act.
Who he is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would have gave more weight.
His character was ruined from the moment, and that's JJ's fault.
Yeah.
Why'd C-3PO have a red arm? No one will ever.
Well, I'm fine with that.
Punish
3PO. I just make fun of that because people are reading into so much stuff in 7, and the truth is, no one had any freaking idea why any of this was the way it was.
It's just a design choice.
Yeah.
Well,
didn't he make a comment? Like somebody commented on the arm, and C-3PO
well, that
made
was
like
what was dumb. That's where they feed into it, which is he has a red arm the whole movie, and it's not talked about. And then at the end of the movie, he has a gold arm and says, "I got my arm back," and there's no scene indicating anything about that.
I watched The Big Lebowski, and I've seen it once, and I saw it again during our Tom Hanks's. It was not a Hankathon; it was a Coen-thon. The Coen brothers. The Big Lebowski. Me and my wife we've rewatched our shows, went through Breaking Bad, went back through Mad Men and whatever, and now we're at a standstill because COVID halted all this stuff. All the new shows aren't coming out or whatever at the frequency they were. So we went on Netflix and we went to highly acclaimed movies they have on there. It's like, let's just go through these. So we've just been watching through movies. Like we'll sit down and watch 30 minutes and when we eat dinner or whatever, we'll keep continuing. So that's our new TV show, is just watching through movies part by part. So we watched The Big Lebowski, and I saw that when I was younger. I went through like the IMDb.
I did the same thing. I tried to watch that.
Yeah, top 150, and I watched it, and I was like, "This is pretty good. It's okay or whatever." But it's funny visiting some of these when you're older, because I really, really liked The Big Lebowski the second time.
Yeah.
Going through the first one, it didn't connect with me. The second time, I laughed more and I got more of like what they were going for. But the Coen Brothers are great. I love Raising Arizona. And
my favorite Coen Brothers movie is Burn After Reading.
Burn After Reading. I don't know if I've seen
Oh,
Never seen it.
You have got to watch that movie. It is by far my favorite movie.
They're very, very fun writing, like funny, like writing and stuff. But the Big Lebowski, even funnier this time and stuff. And I really like.
You would like Burn After Reading for many reasons. It's got Brad Pitt and George Clooney in it. It is the most, and John Malkovich is in it too.
Yeah.
It's a show. It's just these psychopaths. All these individual people are psychopaths. And they all get tangled up in this weird government conspiracy thing.
Yeah.
And like this guy basically like loses his memoirs with all these government secrets at his gym.
Yeah.
And then this girl discovers it. And then all these people make really awful decisions trying to like get money out of it. Mm-hmm. And it just bubbles up to this point that there's a scene that is like a Last Jedi level, or like this one of the most shocking things ever that I've seen in a movie that happens to this character, that you're just like, oh my gosh, like anything could happen in this movie with what just happened.
I need to see the rest of their filmography.
Yeah.
They're pretty good. So
it's great.
Big Lebowski.
Fargo's good too. I like Fargo.
Yeah. Oh, I love Fargo. Yeah. Fargo's great.
I just love the balls that they have. They'll just do things that are ridiculous.
Yeah, they put characters in really funny situations and stuff, but this was really good. And then we watched Road to Perdition was on there. That's what started the Hankathon, and we're going to continue the Hankathon. The Hankathon's not stopping.
I like Forrest Gump.
What's that?
That's the first movie that pops into my head.
And then we want to watch Castaway. That's one of my favorite movies of all time. I love Castaway.
No, I've never seen that.
Never seen it either.
Really?
I've seen the beginning.
That movie is incredible. That movie's very good.
I've seen that he gets on the island, and then I've seen, spoiler alert, he gets
off
the island.
Spoiler.
That's all I've seen.
But we watched Road to Perdition, which I've never seen. And the story is about Tom Hanks. Kind of a baddie in this one. He's kind of a baddie boy.
I've never seen him be a bad guy.
Yeah, if you want to see a baddie boy Hankathon, here's your movie. But it takes place in the 30s, and he's involved in like some mobster kind of gangster stuff. But this guy kind of took him in. It's kind of a family business, and he kind of took him in, Tom Hanks, and like let him whatever. And he's a loyal, like helps them make money or whatever. But one night, his son, Hank's son.
Chet?
It was Chet. I think Chet jumped into the car, and they were gonna like, they had to like shake some down to get their debts paid, and the one guy that was with Tom Hanks was quick on the trigger and killed this guy. He was like whatever, and they look over and they see his son is there, and they're like, oh shoot, and that guy comes back and kills that Tom Hanks' wife and his kid. And the other kid's like hides or comes after in the house and like hides. And now it's like Tom Hanks and that kid coming back for revenge on that family and stuff, because they're trying to kill Tom Hanks. Like, I'll just end it and get it over with and stuff. Like, get rid of him. So it's like a revenge kind of story.
That's kind of cool.
And it takes place during the Depression.
Never really
I really
it.
liked it. I dug it a lot, and I really liked the ending too. But then we moved to, and we haven't finished yet, so no spoilers. But I will talk about it next podcast. Growing up, like the Da Vinci Code.
Oh yeah.
Like and family members, my parents, that was like the most demonic movie.
It was very politicized.
Yeah, and the news and stuff. Like I was in elementary school, or no, I wasn't. I was like in middle school, but it was like this movie is demonic.
I remember being in church and they held up a copy and cut it up.
Really?
They held up a copy and said this book is evil, and they cut it up.
So I
never heard of it.
The Da Vinci Code? It was like a huge phenomenon. So Tom Hanks.
When did this happen?
It was
2000s. Yeah,
it was 06 that came out. So
I was 13 or 14.
It was in that same area where like a lot of Christians thought Harry Potter was evil, Da Vinci Code was evil. Anything that like was in popular media, in books or in movies that
Pokemon.
Like challenged. I knew a lady that thought Pokemon was evil. So, yeah.
But I had heard that, and that's all I knew was my kid brain, and I was like, all right, let's check this out. And it does start pretty crazy. Like out the gate, this like goes 0 to 100 on some of the demonic stuff they're showing, or just crazy stuff. But
is it actual like demonic? Like
it's just crazy code, cult Bible stuff, and Christianity.
Basically, like the Bible is really a lot of like hidden codes from the Knights Templar or whatever.
Yeah,
like,
Knights Templar. They're like code stuff in this, but it's Tom Hanks with like this black long hair hit back like Panic at the Disco hair. Is how it starts. I'm like, I'm in for it. So we're about like a fourth of the way through that movie, and I'm really trying to figure out what the heck's going on because like
it's like National Treasure for adults.
Yeah, yeah, it really is.
I'm going to steal the Declaration.
But because they're like,
I'm going to steal the original Bible.
Because they're coming in and they're like,
I'm gonna steal Mary Magdalene's freaking.
They're like,
I'm going to.
I don't know what with you.
The Fibonacci sequence here, and then like Tom Hanks is like, no. And it's funny because the girl's like trying to write down the code, and he's going like this and looking at the symbols, and she's like, "You got this type of memory." I forgot what the name of the memory was. You got this type of memory. He's like, "No, but I just remember stuff." And he's like sitting there in Hank Vision. It's Hank Vision and stuff. So I'll come back with a review, but we're gonna continue this Hankathon. I don't know where we're gonna end. I might watch all the Tom Hanks films. That's how crazy.
Apollo 13's really good.
Yeah,
I've seen that. That is really good.
That movie's amazing.
So I will report back. The Hankathon, I don't think it'll ever end till I watch the final Hank movie.
Would you guys? I hear that a lot.
What he just came out with the movie.
What was his newest movie? I don't know.
I'm
gonna ask Siri.
Bridge of Spies. I don't.
What was the latest Tom Hanks film?
Captain Phillips.
Greyhound. Oh yeah, he put all his money into Greyhound. That was like his pet project and was going to come out in theaters. He put all of his money into it, and then COVID hit, and that was like one of the first movies that came to like direct.
How's Chet gonna eat?
I don't know. And then last before that was Toy Story 4. Yeah,
there was another one I'm thinking of, but I don't know what it is. I think he caught a lot of flack for it. I don't remember what.
You know, I'm gonna say something.
It better not be an anti-Hank.
No, it's not anti.
It's pro.
We were really blessed with like Tom Hanks, George Clooney, Brad Pitt. There was like this tier of actor, and Hanks is probably the best out of them, of like the 90s and 2000s.
Yeah.
Who is that of like nowadays? Like
I'd say Chris Pratt.
That's the problem because we have like
guys.
Joaquin Phoenix
and those Marvel guys.
And like Ryan Gosling, who's like really good in a lot of indie stuff. But like as far as big movies, like I feel like comedies are dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
there's no Adam Sandler.
Romantic comedies are kind of dead.
Yeah.
Like I did see a video recently, and this person was basically explaining like all of that stuff has just been absorbed into like Marvel stuff and TV and streaming.
Yeah.
Like when's the last time you saw a comedy? Just a really good comedy.
Big
like
Lebowski.
21 Jump Street is the last good comedy I remember.
I don't know if I.
Yeah, it's half comedy, half drama.
The Purge is kind of a comedy to me.
Half comedy, half drama, but Uncut Gems was extremely funny.
Yeah.
And it had Adam
That's
Sandler.
like a dark thriller, I would say, like a dark humor
I don't know.
thriller.
They definitely don't make movies like they did in like the 90s. Maybe we're just at that age now where we look back at the 90s and we're like that was the best time, but the 90s and early 2000s. I think it moved to
like think about Superbad. Think about what's the one where they get lost? What's the one where they get lost in Las Vegas?
The Hangover.
The Hangover. 21 Jump Street. Like they don't make stuff like that. We get like
they do. They made Sausage Party a few years ago.
Yeah,
you know, like
Sausage Party.
There's a new Borat.
Or you get that's a little different. I think that's a good one though. Or like you get like what's that stupid movie with the lifeguards?
It's movies with
Baywatch.
like a bear. What was that Teddy one?
Baywatch.
Or whatever.
The teddy bear. I know what you're talking about.
Or like
Ted was funny.
Yeah, they have to put an animal now for some reason.
We're kind of in a dark era
kind of
right now.
a bunch of furries. You got to be a furry.
Yeah, you're either making a Marvel movie or some other superhero kind of movie.
I think that's what
or you're making Get Out. You're making a Blumhouse movie.
I think
for
that's
like no money.
That's what got me on to search for the highest grossing films because Road to Perdition. I was like, this is a good movie, and I haven't like sat down and watched a movie in like this style in a while. And I was like, how many are like Marvel movies or Disney movies? And like as the 2000s went on, I was like, okay,
yeah,
like,
there it is.
There's a lot of Disney Marvel stuff.
Yeah, I'd like to see some more diversity in films. Like, just get back to where it's not a list of Star Wars and Marvel when it was coming out.
I want to see something new. Let's see Ghostbusters 4. Crap, it's a sequel.
Like Horizon, when it came out, it was like it felt really fresh to play. Have you beaten Horizon Zero Dawn?
I love that. I love that game.
The story was so fresh.
Yeah.
It was like an original thing, and it really like refreshed me on video games. Like, this isn't the same as everything else.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to see some of that.
Some of that in
the
movies.
Cinema. That's why you asked me the last time I watched a movie. No freaking idea. I could not tell you the last time I saw
There's not a lot of interesting stuff happening in big movies. There's a lot of interesting indie stuff.
COVID happened, so like what's new coming?
But the movies that interest me most nowadays are lower budget. The more the indie, they're not low budget. They're like mid-low. They're like, they made this for $5 million. That's a higher budget than if we were to make a movie, like an indie film. But
I kind of got the itch to watch Place Beyond the Pines when you were talking about that other Tom Hanks movie where
that's a good one.
The people kill people.
That was a good time.
Yeah, I don't know why it made me think of that, but that movie.
I love that movie.
That movie had a big twist.
Yeah.
I remember the first time I watched it, I stopped right after that.
Yeah.
And then I picked it back up again and started it over and watched it, and I was like, holy crap, I missed, this is a whole new movie.
That movie goes places twice.
Yeah.
It's
a good movie.
It is a good movie.
Well, I think that is everything. Oh, I did want to give a shout out, and maybe I'll put in some clips if I remember. I want to give a little shout out to Game Quest. You should be giving a shout out to Game Quest as well.
Game Quest. No, the shout out is to you.
On our trip, our Route 66 trip, we stopped at all these different states: Oklahoma, Texas, California, Arizona, all this stuff. In Texas, there was a giant like mural of all these video game characters and stuff, and it was a video game store. And I was like, let's stop in there. This store was, I've never seen a more packed store. I'll put some. I do want to remember to put some footage in here. Because there is so much. There was so much I couldn't even see over the counter. It was almost cluttered to a point of like so much crap. What made me laugh, and I'll put this in the video too. I asked the guy, I was like, "Is it okay if I film in here?" And he said, "Yeah." There was a lifelike Yoda, like on the to scale Yoda, and on its arm, like they had a cowboy hat on it and stuff. Like they were putting stuff on it. And they had it was cracking me up. There was a Halloween bucket, and the Halloween bucket was a Yoda face. So here's Yoda with the Yoda bucket of his own face. But they had action figures hanging from the gutters or the air ducts and stuff. But
that's cool.
The place was cool. I found an amiibo in there, and then I found Kenny some Pokemon cards because you got to look out for your buddy.
Yeah.
A very cool store. One thing that made me laugh, the guy helped me out, very nice guy, but at the very end, when he was ringing me up, some guy came out of the back room. They were playing Magic the Gathering. There was 18 guys over there, and they were just chilling. And he came over with the phone. The phone was ringing. Handed the guy. He's like, "Okay, hello? Yeah, that guy is a giant alcoholic. He is either going to be here or not. You just got it's all on him. He might not show. All right, thanks, bye." And that cracked me up in front of all. There was other people in there other than me. It was like, yeah, that guy's an alcoholic. He's either here, he's not.
Oh my god!
I don't know if they were getting supplies or cards or what.
Wow.
In there, but shouts out Game Quest. Made me laugh.
Where's Game Quest?
It's in
Amarillo,
Texas. I have a couple funny stories if you guys have a moment about Route 66.
Yeah.
We went to Lincoln's Memorial. I don't think I said
that in Illinois.
Yes.
So not the Lincoln Memorial.
No, not the one in
DC. No. His tomb. Sorry. He's
got a tomb?
We went way off track. We got lost.
Is he in the tomb or out of the tomb?
He's in the tomb.
Are we sure?
Yeah. I looked in there and I went, whoa.
Okay.
4 scores. 7 years ago. This dude's in there. But we went and it was a huge they have a huge thing of his head, and I didn't know this must have been a local thing. These kids came up. I didn't know they were supposed to do this, but these kids came and was like, "All right, do the thing." And it's for good luck, and they all rubbed his nose, Lincoln's nose, and they all I was like, I didn't know this was a thing.
You know what? That's my dying wish now. So, I want to be buried in a tomb, and I want a giant face.
And you want people to rub your nose.
I want people to rub my nose for good luck.
Yeah. But, so there's a giant ginormous like tomb of him, and like there's like a statue of him at the top. It's a big tower. But here's the story: went around the back, and on the back is this iron gate to get into it, like another entryway into that tomb thing or whatever. And it's an iron gate, and it says Lincoln, his like word in calligraphy or whatever, his name in calligraphy there. And on that gate, another local thing, a tourist thing or whatever, people have put pennies all over this iron gate, like laid it on the latch or laid it over. There's tons of pennies laying at the bottom, you know, just kind of a sign of respect or whatever to Lincoln. So there was like this other like family that came up that was near me and my wife. And I looked at my wife and was like, "Get a penny?" Like, let's lay one down. Okay. She got one, laid one down. This lady's like, looks at the gate and is like looking at it and looks over at us. Oh. Why all the pennies? And I had to look away. I was like, I can't even like communicate with this woman right now. And my wife, so kindly, much more kindly than I could have put it, was like, "Oh, I think because he's on the penny." So the whole trip, if one of us said something stupid, went, "Oh, why do you think all the pennies?
Why all the pennies?
Why all the pennies?" That was our tagline the whole trip. If one of us did something stupid, like,
I thought you were.
Wow.
I did not
Pennies.
think you were going that direction. I thought you were gonna go the direction of she starts collecting all the pennies.
oh yeah, that was the other thing. I was just like, dude, we can make bank. We can pay for this trip. All these pennies here. There's at least $8 here. But the other thing with Lincoln, we got to see his home. Like, but this dude was so important that they kept his entire neighborhood. It's one thing to be like, here's Lincoln's house, cool.
Yeah.
But when we got there, we were walking down, and there's like little, like, you know, like a kiosk or like, you know, the placards or whatever you can read about whatever. Started seeing like, oh, this is Lincoln's neighbor Johnny. Here's his neighbor Danny. But you walk in, and they have what's the word? Like, they have like secured, what's the word? Like, immortalized this entire neighborhood.
Oh my gosh.
It's like if like somebody down the block became president and they're like, here's Zach's house. It's the equivalent of that. And we were like, oh my gosh. But other people had interacted with them. They were like, Ty was like, oh yeah, this guy went and door to door and tried to get Lincoln like
This
elected.
guy mowed his grass.
This guy mowed his grass, and I was like, what the frick? The entire neighborhood got encapsulated.
You imagine
like,
doing something so important
I
that
was like,
the entire neighborhood
Yeah.
you lived in.
He was
So-
a pretty important guy.
Yeah, but I was like, that guy is important. So get to see Lincoln's house, take a selfie in front of it. I wanted to skate.
Just as he would have wanted.
Yeah, I wanted to skate. I brought my skateboard. I really wanted to do a 50-50 grind on the steps, but they had cameras all over.
I'm pretty sure you can do that in like one of the Tony Hawk Underground games.
I want to do a nose grind. Lincoln, that's what Lincoln would have wanted.
You
They also
shoulda-
showed a picture of like across the street. It was cool. Like it was like, here is that famous picture of his house, and you can see Lincoln at it or whatever. And it's like, you're standing in the spot this picture was taken. Like,
I love when you get to do stuff like that. See the little spot pictures were taken.
But there was tons of stuff. Grand Canyon was incredible. Like there was this cool. It had the best graphics I've ever seen.
How
in
was the
anything
bus?
In my life. The bus. So we stayed also when we stayed at the Grand Canyon. We stayed 2 days there, and we stayed in a old school bus. Shouts out! Just look up school bus near Grand Canyon or whatever.
Whoa.
You stay in a school bus or whatever, and it is like they have an outdoor like outhouse thing and whatever else. You're roughing it out there, but you are in a school bus with like a cot inside, like a bed. It's been all the seats have been taken out, but never seen so many stars in my life. Like it is in the middle of nowhere. You're riding on rocky roads and stuff, but it was incredible. It was an awesome trip, but very cool stuff. Las Vegas was cool. Saw a lot of video games there.
Did you do a kickflip on the slot machines?
Yeah. It costed a lot of money to play the video games. Yeah.
Do you see Britney Spears when you were in Vegas?
She's a little busy at the moment, I think.
I saw for the
She's
first
playing her own
time.
video games.
Yeah.
I saw for the first time that video of Leave Britney Alone.
Really?
You've
never seen that?
I've never seen that.
That kid was right. That kid was right.
Yeah. Wow, it only took 15 years. He was right, 16 years.
Is she really okay or is she not okay?
She's not okay. Well, what do you mean?
She is 100% being held against her will.
Yeah,
You think she's being held against her will?
It's not a thing. She 100% is.
It's
yeah.
100% proven.
They have her legally.
It's like Aliens. We already proved that
I
last
know
week.
I know some of what they.
In what circumstances is it okay for a 4-year-old woman to have to give all her money to her dad and like make $2,000
Because what happened was she had
$8,000 in her bank account last year.
Yeah, I don't know.
They are straight up using her as a slave.
I don't know all the details.
They have kept her any detail. That's the detail enough. It doesn't matter if she's legally insane. Yeah, they're totally exploiting her.
I think
Let her go be insane somewhere. Don't make her keep performing.
It's so fricked up, Kenny.
She's performing right now? She's still performing?
Yes, she's been performing.
See, I didn't know all that. That's why I kind of asked.
Look it up.
That's why I asked, like, what's the deal? Is she okay?
Oh, dude,
or is she
it's
not
ridiculous.
Okay?
Yeah. It's so fricked up that I think the last I read, they're gonna like get the bar association because attorneys and people were not doing what they should.
Well, she was never. I heard that every time that she had representation, that the only representation she was allowed to have was the representation that her family appointed.
It was really.
She's been used as a slave.
Yeah, it's like.
Also, think about this through modern lens, and there's a lot to this, but. In like the 2000s, remember she had her breakdown, she shaved her head?
Yeah.
She shaved her head. They took her kid away because she shaved her head. Like, that was part of what they said was like, this woman is not like able to have a kid. She shaved her head. That's what they said in court. It's like, nowadays that would never happen.
If you watch that Britney documentary, it's like, a lot of stuff is not looking good back in the 2000s, what we did. But hashtag, leave Britney alone. Hashtag, Hankathon. We'll have updates. Aliens. Oh, the report. We should do the follow-up. One last thing, because the last 2 podcasts we've been talking about aliens.
Are they real?
Aliens are real, confirmed. Well, our government won't name them. They won't name the aliens. But the government, the document did come out, and they just said, they are objects. We don't know what they are. They won't name them. They're like, we just don't know.
Well, they don't know what they are.
They don't know what they are still.
They're UFOs.
They're UFOs.
That's what a UFO is. It's something that they don't know what it is.
We watched X-Files and we believe we're with Mulder.
China.
It could be China.
It's China.
But I don't know if they can make something that fast. I don't know. We'll see.
Fiber internet.
Well, no, that was in the report. They came out and said, we've got information about like Russia and China and stuff. It's not them. Like, they don't have the technology. Like, we've seen in their little back labs what they're doing. We've seen what they're doing with their Raspberry Pis. They are not making...
They're too busy making...
They're not making objects that defy space and time. They're not.
They're updated. They just launched the new update for COVID-19.
We're Delta. Not... This isn't that kind of podcast.
I'm just making
jokes. I know.
We do talk about COVID, though, and it is defeated. So thank you.
No, it's not. You can't go to, like... 3 countries right now because the Delta strain is running rampant.
Yeah, the Delta update sucks.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna say that.
We gotta download an update to the Pfizer.
This is the worst update since Final Fantasy 15 Ultimate Edition. They fixed COVID. No Man's Sky. They fixed it.
The Delta update was not good. Not my favorite.
Yeah,
but.
It's like when they would patch Cyberpunk and it would break a bunch of new...
Yeah, the Delta...
We got the vaccine for the beta, and then they went to the Delta, and now the Delta's out of control.
Yeah.
We got to get the Delta update for the vaccine. But then they go to Gamma, and we're doomed.
Yeah. So we'll see what the next update to the DweeBros podcast. If you like the podcast, if you like aliens, and if you want to continue on the Hankathon path that I'm taking. I'm kind of like a Jedi of Tom Hanks.
While you watch all the Tom Hanks movies, I'm going to watch all the Chet Hanks like Instagram videos.
Instagram reels.
Does he have a TikTok?
Yeah, I'll watch all his TikToks and then we'll come together.
We'll come together and
maybe there's
pass notes.
Maybe there's like an overall arching story.
Yeah.
Like the Hanks universe.
The Hank universe. Hankiverse.
The Chetiverse.
The Chetiverse and the Hankiverse are coming together.
I feel like Chet's whole life is like a Loki spinoff of Tom Hanks' Infinity War life. Like some weird thing that you know,
but
I watch, but nobody else.
Check us out, DweeBoYT on Twitter. Check us out. Give us a like. Give us a follow. Thursdays at 7, the Hangouts are back. We're doing some crazy games, crazy escapades. Is there any Tom Hanks video games? Like Toy Story. I can play a Toy Story on Super Nintendo.
I think there was a Da Vinci Code game. That feels like it was like a PS2 movie tie-in.
Yeah.
There had to
You might be right. We might be playing Da Vinci Code.
Yeah, hey, that'd be fun.
All right. But thank you guys for watching. Any last words?
Peace be with you.
What's your favorite Tom Hanks movie? We'll end on Tom Hanks movie. Tom Hanks respect.
Mine's Forrest Gump.
Has to be Forrest Gump.
I love Forrest Gump.
I think it might be.
I stayed home one day from school, like 6th grade, and I watched that movie.
It's a good
Changed my
one.
life. Love that movie.
I'm looking up if there's a Da Vinci Code video game.
Okay.
And
We'll end on
there is.
We'll be playing it soon.
89% liked this video game.
See you guys later.
Oh, yes.